So we're going to start off with our Monday manifesting video. So let's get to it. How do we want to start that? All right. Welcome back to Manifesting Monday. Our goal here is to say our goals for the week, to give ourselves some accountability, to, nope, I didn't like that. All right. Welcome back to Manifesting Monday. We are into week 2. Last week we gave ourselves 5 goals to try and get done last week. We got 4.5 out of 5. So today, along with that second half goal that we're trying to get done, this week we are going to try and hold ourselves accountable to finishing the instructions. We found a reviewer on Sunday but couldn't get it to them in time, so that is our first goal. We are going to find one new playtester for the game of Everstone. We are going to finish the solo content to create episodes for people to start playing the solo content for the game. We are going to do our website updates based on our feedback we got from our buddy Christian, and we're going to spend more time outside. So there are 4 goals for McMeeples Publishing and 1 for just personal wellness. I'd love to hear what goals you have for the week in the comments below, and let's work to hold ourselves accountable. Have a good Monday, everyone. All right. Video 1 down. Back to the regularly scheduled programming. So let's fix the tablet and get into it. Let's get down the business. This is how we do it. Gotta start screen recording. Bam. All right. I think everything's all set up. Hopefully the tablet keeps working today. But let's jump into our normal video number 1. Hi, welcome back to the channel. My name is Sam, and in today's video we are going to be talking about the card game, Love Letter. Love Letter came into our collection fairly early on. I believe it was one of the first, if not, no, definitely first 3 that Michaela and I started playing when we got into the hobby, or were introduced into. And how the game works is based on the player count. You'll have a set number of cards in the deck, and based again on player count. If you're playing 2 to 4, you'll use this side. If you're playing 5 to, I believe it plays up to 8 or 9. Let's see if it has it somewhere on the box. Plays up to 8. So if you're playing a 5 to 8, you'll use the other side. But this is a simple card game that we love to introduce to people that are on the fringe of being into the hobby or looking to just pass the time. And if we're playing a 4-player game, we'll just use this side, and this gives you a list of all the cards in the deck. And so everyone's going to have their secret card in their hand, and on your turn, you'll draw 1 card and play one of the 2 cards in your hand and do what it says. And then you'll keep doing that until no players are left or the deck runs out. And then the highest value of card left in the game, the 1 card in everyone's hand, whoever has the highest value will get a heart and be the winner of the round. And the goal is to get the most hearts by the end of the game. I've never played by the official rules. We just play until it's state its welcome. But it says... This is great air content. 4 affection tokens is what the game says to play to. These are affection tokens here, these little hearts. And so the goal is just to collect the most hearts at the end of the game, or to be the first to 4. And so what I like about it is that it's a very easy game to get others that are, I guess, intimidated by the wall behind us, or friends that aren't really looking to play a game, but have some activity going on to help stimulate the conversation, or just a secondary thing to do while we're hanging out. Love Letter is a great game to play because the rules, we were able to say in 3 seconds, of on your turn, you're going to draw a card and play one of the 2 cards. And so they got all sorts of different actions, like choose any player. This is the sycophant. If the next card played has an effect, you can target them. The guard allows you to guess a card, and if you guess the other player's card correctly, you eliminate them. The baron, each player compares cards, and the player with the lower number is out. So they all have these unique different effects that are all on the rules reference, so you don't have to remember all of the cards. And so it requires almost no barrier to entry to get the game played. You could be an expert and have played this game 100 times, or this could be your first time playing it. And both players, there's probably a slight advantage of just knowing how to use each card, but for a game that lasts only 5 minutes, if that, it's a really fun game to pass the time when you're kind of just chit-chatting or having a drink with friends. And so that, like, the concept of having a game that can fit into that type of environment is the reason that Love Letter is a game I wanted to talk about today. This week we are going to feature a lot of those easy to get others to play at the table type games, and this week we let off with Love Letter. I'd love to hear your comments on Love Letter down below. Is it a game that's still in your collection? Is it a game that was used for introducing you into the hobby? I'd love to engage in the comments below with you. So looking forward to chatting with you soon. All right, we are video 1 and 1A done, and we are at 8 o'clock, our normal live time. So if anyone's following our normal pattern, welcome to the stream. We are already 2 videos in. I apologize, but we had some busy stuff to get into this morning, so we gotta work with life, what life throws at us. So video 3 or 2, however we want to talk about it, is going to be up next. And if you're watching for the first time and don't have any idea what video 2 is, we are going to take the game Love Letter and add a random game mechanic into it and see how well that works. So we need to pull up our timer, and we are ready for video number 2. Grab a quick drink of water real quick. And here we go. Hi, welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we are going to be taking the board game, or I guess it's card game, Love Letter, and adding a random game element into it. How we might do that, you ask? Well, if we switch screens and we look at the top right of our screen, we have our Wheel of Mechanics. And so what we like to do on the channel is we will spin this Wheel of Mechanics, and whatever random game mechanic pops up, our goal will be to add it into Love Letter. Closed drafting. Interesting. All right, closed drafting it is. So we will jump back into our other screen, and our goal for this video is to get closed drafting. Make sure our into Love Letter. So what we will do here is we will pull up our phone timer and set it for 5 minutes. And now that the timer is running, we are on the clock to figure out how we might add closed drafting into Love Letter. For those of you who are unfamiliar with that mechanic, my interpretation of closed drafting is the key focus is the word closed. So that would be a standard style draft where everyone has a set amount of cards in their hand and they're picking one to draft and passing. So closed being the information of what's being drafted isn't visible. And I think how I would end up doing this is we would deal out, it's probably easier to just share these thoughts on the main camera, because I think our prompt is fairly straightforward and the components in Love Letter aren't super there's not a lot. You got the deck of cards and you have the point scoring marker tokens, so you really only have the deck of cards. So I think how I would do this is at the start of the game, instead of giving everybody one card, we would deal the entire deck out to every player, and that would be the hand that they are drafting from. And so then you would do a standard draft of, say I had these cards, I'd pick one that I wanted to keep, and I would pass to the left, and everyone would end up, you know, repeating until there's one card left, and then you'd pass that to the other player. And that would be the other player's starting card. So the last card that you're dealt is your drafted is your starting card, and the remaining of the cards that you're drafting, you'll shuffle up into your own personal deck. And so then I think you would try to play Love Letter with your own personal deck instead of having a group deck that everyone's drafting from. And then you would repeat the main gameplay of Love Letter, but instead of drawing from a universal deck, everyone would have their own personal deck to draw from. And that's how I would try to add a closed drafting mechanic into Love Letter. And so how I'd go about testing it is the next time we had two players or two other friends over at our house, Michaela, myself, and two others, I would ask if they wanted to play Love Letter with a house rule variant to see how that closed drafting element works. And the only thing, I wouldn't need to create anything different to try that concept. I would maybe write down the rule setup, but I think it would be very straightforward to be able to have people remember that you're only drafting from or drawing from your own personal pile. And I think for the sake of not having to teach what drafting is, I would suggest doing that when we had two friends over that are familiar with games like Seven Wonders or It's Wonderful World or other drafting style games, so that they have the understanding of that already, so then they can just focus on playing the new variant. And that's how I'd test adding a drafting element to Love Letter, or specifically a closed drafting element, which I think would actually work better than an open drafting element, because there'd still then be mystery of what cards go where. Because with you passing one direction, I think you'd always have to pass to the left, because if you're playing to the left, or if you were playing over rounds where you alternated directions of where you're drafting, I think you'd have to change the order in which you're playing, because there would be too much information given knowing what the other players picked potentially. But I wouldn't worry about any of that until we played just the base style of that mechanic. So I'd love to hear in the comments below if you have a different way of adding a closed drafting element to the game Love Letter. Or if you like this style of content, these videos go up every Wednesday, so please subscribe to the channel so you don't miss one. And with that, I hope you have a great day. All right, we are cooking. We got one video left. And I'm actually kind of excited to try and play that variant of Love Letter. I think that would give it a little refresh to it. I don't know if it would necessarily make the game better, because it'd make it a little more complicated than what would be a go-to intro game for me. But as somebody that feels fairly seasoned in Love Letter, I think it would give it I totally forgot the timer was going. I think it would give it a breath of fresh air. So we will set up for video number 3 and then get into it. So we got that all set there. We can boom. All right, we are all set there, and one more camera change. Boom, boom. All right, good to go. Last video, commence. We don't need Love Letter, so we can put that off to the side. All right. Hi, welcome back to the channel. My name is Sam, and in today's video, we are going to be designing a game concept in 5 minutes or less from a randomly generated game prompt. So what we will do is we will change camera screens, and if you look at the top right, we have our game idea generator, which is a tool from letsmakeagame.net. And once we click the generate button, we will be presented with a genre, rule, setting, and theme for us to design around. And so once we click the generate button, we will set our phone timer for 5 minutes to give us pressure to get the ideas out there and not have dead air on this video. And we'll see what we come up with. So with that intro out of the way, let's start it off. So our genre is real-time strategy. Our rule is enemies as weapons. Our setting is distant future. And our theme is technology gone nuts. And let's jump into it. Oh God, my mouse is being wonky. All right, cool. The tablet is working. The timer is started and my brain is at design block. All right, so real-time strategy, enemies as weapons, distant future, and technology gone nuts. And previously in this live stream, we used Love Letter as our game to talk about. So maybe we will try to tie in a Love Letter style concept as well. So the things we'll take from Love Letter is there'll be a deck of cards that everyone is drawing from. And, distant future, technology gone nuts, enemies as weapons. I don't really have any thoughts around that. But, so we have our deck in the middle, and maybe everyone has 3 spots for cards to be played out in front of them. And so you have 3 cards played out in front of you, and then you have your hand with 1 card. And give her that is a beautiful hand. The thumbnail got put on the wrong side. But that is our 1 card in our hand. And so we'd follow the same rule construct of draw from the deck. And that'd be interesting. So you can either play the card down secretly, face down as one of the cards, or you could play it to the discard pile, which would trigger the chain reaction of something that would happen. So that'd be the discard. I think. And so current thoughts of where we're at with this design ideation is that we're ignoring real-time strategy and ignoring enemies as weapons, and we're focusing on the distant future, technology gone nuts maybe. And everyone can have up to 3 cards face down in front of them, but the rule is everyone's drawing from the same deck in the center of the table. And similar to our game of the episode, Love Letter, everyone will have 1 card in their hand at the start, and on your turn you'll draw a card, and you can either play a card to the discard or play a card face down in front of you. And once there are 3 cards in front of you, the next time you draw, you would have to discard or trade or something like that. And that would trigger an event of resolve. And the goal is to, similar to Love Letter maybe, we would be looking to have the highest number of summed value with the cards. I think that's where I'd start with this prompt. And we have a minute to continue to ideate, and then we'll wrap up. We got Michaela in the chat. Yeah, we started early today, and the first 3 segments went fairly quickly. But So where we're at with this is we haven't really focused on what the cards look like. And potentially, because I'm a sucker for multi-use cards, we have maybe either you can have the ability played or the number being played. So that would be upside down. And I think that's where we'll stop it. I'd love to... So we'll set this up as a prompt. I would love to hear how you'd finish this prompt in the comments below. But we were given the prompt of real-time strategy, enemies as weapons, distant future, and technology gone nuts. And what we've set up as the constructs for designing a game around is that there is one deck that everyone is building from. And we followed the technology gone nuts sort of theming. And so everyone starts with one card in their hand. And on your turn, you can either play a card to the discard, which will have a discard ability, or you can bury a card in, or play a card face down in front of you. And once everybody has, or once the third player has, or the first player has 3 cards in front of them, they will trigger the second round of the game, which everyone will then take either the card in their hand if they don't have 3, or if they only have 1, they'll draw another one from the deck. And if they don't have any in front of them, they'll draw 2 from the deck, and that will then enter into the combat phase. And so what I'd like to see in the comments below is if you have any ideas of how to add to the combat phase, maybe we can design a game concept to test out in the comments section of YouTube. So if you like this style of content, normally I have a full-fledged game concept that we come up with, but today we only got a partial one. So I look forward to working with you guys together to create a concept for someone to take further into that design process. So with that, we are done with today's video. And if you like this style of content, these 5-minute game prompts go live every Friday. So be sure to follow the channel by subscribing so you don't miss out on a good design challenge. And with that, I hope you have a great day. Bye-bye. Thank you for those who are watching live. I hope you have a great Monday, and I look forward to seeing you guys tomorrow.